screen too.
Okay.
Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining. Give us a thumbs up, post in the chat if you can hear us all right. Hopefully you can, and you know where all your reactions sit in a Teams webinar. Thanks for joining us. Great. You are awake today. Thank you. Thanks for joining. All right. Just double checking that the recording has started. You never know. All right. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, I will go ahead and kick it off to Raj, and we will go ahead and get started. Feel free to post your questions in the chat or in the Q&A bar across the top if you have access to that, and we will get started. All right, Raj, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Alison, for organizing this. Really looking forward to this conversation. First of all, just doing a sound check. Is my audio coming through fine? Just through reactions would be good to know. All right, awesome. Thanks. Really excited for this session. I know that this has been a topic in discussion since we did the Message Center post back in March that we were modernizing external networks. Today's session will actually cover a few things. We'll actually go through as to what we're doing in the modern external networks. There'll be some content that we'll show through slideware, and then I'll actually show you a walkthrough on real code demo of basically how a network that has already been migrated from a legacy network to modern external network, and also walk you through the process of how you would go about setting up your modern external networks for your legacy networks, and then including kicking off your content move from your legacy network. I know there'll be a lot of questions, so please feel free to raise them in the chat or in the Q&A. And if we have some time, we'll be absolutely happy to answer them live. And secondly, we have our awesome support team here as well, Brian, Corey, and a lot of our team who you interface with a lot. So they're here to also support any of your questions in the days to come. Before we get started, quick couple of things that I wanted to make sure that we are all on the same page in terms of timelines, etc. So we had through, hey, Tony, good to see you. We had through June 15th at practically yesterday for customers with legacy networks to file for an extension if you needed more time for you to migrate your content or move to modern external networks. Thank you all for who have submitted it. I think at this point in time, we have probably may have a couple more remaining, but I believe yesterday, Michael, and Brian and Corey, keep me honest, I think we cleared our queue. We should have had all the requests processed. If you don't have it, please do make sure that you raise it to support. And if like to me or on this chat, that if you have a support ticket that you have not seen a response for, we want to make sure that if you had filed the support ticket, we are acting on it. So please make sure to raise this to us through chat or through Q&A, and we would love to make sure that we are acting on your request because you had done it before today. Second, the deadline for us to basically retire, or what we say, like, pretty much request you all to move to modern external networks, is August 15th. And we'll talk about as to why we are choosing this date and why we're doing this migration, but that's the date that we have to respect and follow to basically move some of our legacy components as part of Microsoft Secure Futures initiative to basically not have these legacy networks or legacy components around. So now we'll jump into why we are doing modern external networks, and then we'll actually go through some of the slide, and then most of the time we'll be spending is walking through the experience of how do you go about moving your legacy external networks to modern external networks. So first things first, please know that Microsoft is always committed as part of our SFI to make sure that all our environments and services are current, they are running as part of our guidance that we have internally to make sure that we are aligning with modern authentication and modern services and modern APIs. As a result, you probably have seen it is just not Engage, but there are other components at Microsoft that are also slowly being replaced or being retired. And in our case, we're basically replacing our legacy external networks with the modern external networks. Some of you or several of you have already gone through the journey of the M365 native mode migration when we basically did some of our native one-to-many and some of our native networks, like non-native networks to native. That was also part of our journey of making sure that we align with Entra, we align with M365 apps and services, especially given the fact that Viva Engage is an M365 workload. So similar to that, for legacy external networks, we're doing the same. We're basically going to support you to have your networks, if you want to keep them, to be on the new platform of Engage, which is modern, which has a fresher look. You all will agree that when you look at the current legacy external network experience, you probably pause and say, is this UI from these decade? And actually, it is not. It really is actually from the last decade. And so we really want to move away from it. We want to give the fresher look of Engage even to our modern external networks. And further down the line, as we move to modern, it opens up the possibility for us to deliver more experiences that you are familiar with on Engage. From a conversation point of view, there is never a good time because there are always customers who are using the services. But as I mentioned, as part of our SFI initiative, this is one of the things that we basically are prioritizing. It's actually one of our topmost priorities on Engage to basically move all our legacy components from to basically modern components. And so if you have not noticed, we basically are moving a lot of our experiences, including some of our legacy settings, are also getting modernized. So that's one of our initiatives. So I just covered with you the reason behind it, the timelines around it, and also most importantly, we basically working with you to make sure that we can actually support you through the transition from legacy to modern. As somebody just noted, yes, the process can sometimes be time consuming, but you have our commitment from our support team and also from the product team. I believe Michael Thomas is on the call. He and I are committed along with the support team to make sure that if there are any questions or anything that we see, or if you raise any ticket, if it gets routed to us, we'll act on it immediately. So we are here to make sure that as you transition over to the modern external networks, you will actually have that support. All right, now let's go through some content. I want to quickly check on the chat if there are any questions already, but I think it was mostly people saying hi. Thank you all for joining. And I totally understand. And we basically are going to keep tracking, keep monitoring the chats. So first of all, as we basically think through our experiences, as we have discussed in the past as well, Viva Engage supports the single tenant experience. We have multi-tenant, which is MTO. External networks is the modern one, which is essentially going to be the one that we will talk about. And more importantly, we are working on what we call as a new technology, is basically allowing to make sure that we can support more and more network configurations. I see somebody in the chat just mentioned that their support ticket has not been acted on. James is saying we have not moved yet on a support ticket. Didn't seem to understand what he was saying, or we are not even sure where to go from here. So James, happy to take it offline with you. We can basically work with you one-off after this call to make sure that your ticket gets routed to us. And if you already have an email with support, please do include Brian and Corey and myself on that, and we'll start acting on it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk about external networks. So I'm actually going to play a quick video. This was something that we also presented in M365 to basically say as to how the transition will happen. And then we'll actually show you some of the UX of how it looks like, and then we'll switch over to real code demo. So first things first, there is no audio. So if you're I think there is audio. So give me 1 second. Allison, I am always naive on this. I think I have to reshare with audio, I guess.
Let's try it. Just press play. It should work. If it doesn't, yeah, we can reshare.
Okay. All right. Maybe there was no audio, I think. So first of all, when we basically do this, we start with the new tenant. One of the premises is that each of our modern external networks require a new tenant. In Admin Center, you would actually have the ability to connect your new tenant with your home network. This is the flow of basically going through the setup, and we'll actually walk through it together. So this is where we actually go. There is a experience for you to redeem a code. It is a unique code. And if you basically see, we take that code, which is a GUID, and we will then connect it with your home network. So all of the home networks that you have, this is the way to basically pair to say, yep, this external networks is tied to my canonical or my home network. So here you are seeing that the user has pasted the code and the GUID of the tenant ID. And once it is successful, you actually have the network now connected. Next, when you switch to the external networks, you can actually see that once you go in there, you are going to see this modern experience. And once you see this modern experience, this is where you actually get to start seeing the experience being fresher and modern, etc. So we'll actually walk through today's session as to how you go about taking your new tenant, connecting you to your existing home network canonical. How do you connect your legacy external network to the new one that you created, and then kick off the migration? Uh, this is what the UI will look like once everything is said and done. Video content also moved. You can see it looks fresher. It looks familiar of Viva Engage. You will actually have the experience of switching directly from your legacy external, from your canonical network to the modern external network post migration, which I will show you as well. And then one of the things that you will see is like the community discovery experience you're so used to with the Viva Engage experience. That is what the fresher looks look like. A quick couple of things here when you're looking just to observe. The only thing that we are actually bringing forward at this point in time, or I should say what we are bringing forward, is communities, which is essentially when you go to a modern external network post-migration, you actually get to see communities only on the left-hand side. Of course, you will have the users, but you won't have any of the other experiences that you are used to, such as storylines or campaigns or AMAs. Those are some of the things we'll actually make sure that we continue to bring forward to you. This is on our some of the things for the future. I don't have a committed timeline, but please know that our move to the modern stack, and these are some of the things that we'll actually want to bring, like all our experiences that we have built on Viva Engage native to these modern external networks as well. So before we go in, I just covered at a very, very high level the experience. I'm happy to take a couple of questions right now. I'm seeing that there is a discussion going on with on the chat. Just quickly going there. I think there is a conversation with James about the ticket. Yep, please do connect us. And the other case is Callum is basically asking, which some of which are still active. Is it possible to migrate the external from those that need to be to the one? Callum, if you don't mind just coming onto the microphone and asking this question, we can probably answer it real time.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Thank you, Raj. Appreciate it. And hello from Cambridge in the UK, everybody. So yeah, my organization, we've recently merged with another organization. As a result, we've got multiple tenants. Some of those are active and some of those are not active. Now, the ones, the couple of the ones that are not active have external external engaged networks, sorry, which are still active, which doesn't make sense when the tenants themselves are not active, but that's a different conversation. So the question is, can I migrate or move the external networks that are on tenants that need to be deprecated onto one of our current active tenants and then move to the modern experience, or do I have to migrate them to the modern experience and keep them tied to the tenant that they were created on?
So great question. I think your scenario, if I were just to repeat for everybody, your scenario is like, you have multiple tenants now part of the same organization. Some of the
Yep,
tenants actually are not active. When you say not active, they're not actively being used, just to be clear, right?
correct. Yep,
You'll not
correct.
shut down that network. You're not unlicensed. The network is not being shut down, just to be clear.
Correct. Correct.
And so in that case, you basically are saying that in that case, what is the guidance or what's the recommendation from Microsoft or for this particular use case? So first of all, it is your data, it is your configuration. So whatever we are providing is just a suggestion. It is not a guidance or recommendation. For
Yep.
your external networks, just to make sure that if you want to move them, definitely move them. The suggestion would be to definitely move them to the modern external network first as a first step. The reason is
Right.
because if you don't move them, those networks will not be available after August 15th. So if you still care to continue to have those external networks being accessible by users because you say they're active, I would suggest that you first move them to the modern external network and then connect them to your current less active tenant, I mean the network of Engage, because that's the normal way for you to basically get to a state where you are keeping the content and the network available. So that's the first thing that I would do. The
Okay.
second thing that go ahead, Callum.
No, no, no. Okay, sorry. Yeah, carry on.
The second thing that you're asking is to say at some point in time, we'll basically be merging that non-active network with another network. What happens then? In that
Hmm.
case, the thing is going to be the decision for you to basically take your content from your external network. We would probably have to do it. And I don't know if Michael, if you're on the call, I can't see everybody, but that's a case where we would actually have to see as to how do we rehome your migrated external network to another canonical or your home network. That's a good question. I think you should raise it as a ticket to us and we can look into it.
Okay.
But at this point, go ahead. At this point in time, I think the first step would to be move your legacy external network to modern and tie it to the Engage network that is less active.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Raj. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. William, go ahead.
Yep. Hi, Raj. Everyone. I'm William from Birmingham in the UK. So I've got a quick questions. When we're doing the migration from the legacy Yammer to the new Viva Engage, how does the message thread, which contains the user association, would that be migrated to the new Viva Engage, or it will just only showing with the display name under the message thread?
Say that again. Sorry, I think I lost you a little bit.
Okay, yep. Just want to ask the message thread during the migration,
Mhm.
when the ODM we contain user A and user B on that. Once we do the migration to the new Viva Engage, how does it approach for the Outlook? It will be showing their display name, or we have to import their user account on the M36 on the Android tenant, then invite them to the community, then do the migration or some sort of things.
Yeah, so here's the question, I think, just for everybody's just repeat the question for the recording and for everyone. The question is to say, hey, I have users in my legacy external networks. We want to move the content and we need to make sure that it gets mapped once the content gets moved. What should I do? It
Yeah,
is, I
correct.
think it is in the documentation that we have outlined that please make sure that you have moved when I say moved, you have brought in the users from your legacy external network into the new tenant before you basically kick off the migration of the content. So the process would be to say bulk export the users that you want from your legacy external network, bulk invite them as guest users into the new network or the new network that you have created. Once the users are there, you should then kick off the migration. Because if you don't have users, the content will get migrated, but it won't get mapped to any users. It will essentially show the experience of a former user or user, it won't be able to be tied to the same user. Does that answer your question, William?
Yep, clear enough. Thank you very much, Raj.
Yeah, I think I see a question from Doug.
Hi there. Yeah, it's Doug Corbett from Toronto, Ontario. So I am dealing with a support person. He's very good. And we've done the association between the new tenants. We've set up the tenant. I was able to figure out the cross-tenant sync. So I've got all my internal users that I want into the new tenant as guests. I just have a question. It's sort of related to the last one, but as far as my actual external users go with different domain names than ours, let's say I have just run, and it's about, hang on, just give me one sec here, sorry. Let's say I've run the external network upgrade. So all my old users are kicked out of the new one. Now my new tenant's active, right?
Yes.
Can I still invite my actual external users through the new Viva at that point in time, or before I run the M365 native mode migration step? Or
Yeah. So you're basically asking the question. Go ahead.
Or do I actually have to set them up as guests through Entra first? Like if inviting them through the new Viva and the new tenant, is that going to set them up as guests in Entra? And will they, will the migration keep their data associated with them?
So a couple of things. So if you move, so for the association of the content, we recommend that you basically have the users there. So there are a couple of ways, as you're familiar with. You could pretty much add them through the invitation flow through the new network or the Viva Engage and add them as guest users. And that will essentially create guest users in your Entra. But if you don't want to do that, you could essentially do a bulk invite of the users that already exist. After the fact, you can continue to invite users just like you would. You could add them directly to the network through Entra, or you could actually invite them to individual communities through the flow that you are used to on Viva Engage. So you have multiple ways of bringing the user into your new tenant. The guidance from our side was to basically bring your users in bulk because you already have users there. And then they basically are available in the network. And as part of the migration, we are basically bringing them and associating them in Engage.
Okay, that's cool. So yeah, I'll probably do it the invite way. I have one more quick question if you have a sec. It's more about licensing. So I've got about 8 external networks that I've got to migrate. And so I set up I think I'm just using Business Premium as my license in the new tenant. Seems to work well. It gives me my Entra P1 for the cross-tenant sync that I was referring to earlier.
Yep.
As far how much storage do I get with that SharePoint? Because it looks like I have like a terabyte, but I don't know if that's stealing from my home tenant, or do I get, like in this new tenant, do I get a terabyte per?
So
seems. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Doug, if you don't mind sharing the SKU that you have actually assigned. So it is not a shared SKU. I don't know, I'm not the expert on licensing, but we can get more information from our commerce team. But I don't know if you can actually have a license that is the same license that is shared across 2 tenants. So if you have assigned a license to any of the users, then essentially you are assigning that license to that user in that new tenant, and the storage is for that. But if you can please share with us the particular SKU, we can definitely get back to you as to how much storage it is there. Hence, our guidance was to basically try and do an E5 if possible, because it also gives you future proofing for any governance and compliance and any other things that you want. And it gives you more storage as well. There was a question in the chat about which license. The license is anyone that basically gets you storage and doesn't have to be assigned to the user that is the B2B user. You could assign it to the admin. It is for the tenant that we need so that we can have SharePoint storage for the Engage network.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's not a share. We did buy the business premium, Microsoft 365 business premium in the new tenant as the admin in the new tenant.
Then it is basically tied to that particular tenant.
Okay.
Yeah, it is not stealing from your other quota because the quota is on a per user basis per license.
Gotcha. Okay, so if I go into the new tenant and look at my SharePoint there and what storage is available, that's how much I have just for that new
yes,
tenant.
correct. Yes. And if you're not seeing that data, please feel free to raise it to us. We'll happily connect with our commerce team to get that sorted for you.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Go ahead, William.
Yep, thanks, Raj. Regarding the previous email conversation between us, I would like to check the display name issue on the new Viva Engage. Understood that the product team is working on it. So do we have a timeline or any other methodology we can get the work around?
No, let me actually answer that question. That is one of the things that we are working on. I don't have a committed timeline, but it is something that we are trying to get delivered in the next 3 to 6 months for sure. Michael, I believe you might be on the call. Your team is looking at the display name for external guests. If you have any update, yeah.
The work is in progress currently. It's being prioritized. It's in progress. As soon as it meets the quality gate, we will deploy to production for customers.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Michael and Raj.
Yep.
Then we will have a communication with our external customer that is under developed by Microsoft at the moment. Yep. So we will have them to be aware of it first.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. There's a question from happy to take that question and answers. There's a comment from Igor from the in the chat about the documentation in some parts very confusing. I appreciate that feedback, Igor. Happy to discuss with you one-off to basically understand as to what we can do to make it clearer for you and for the rest of our customers. But most importantly, I think I answered part of your question, which was having the part of the E5 license in the new tenant. It can be assigned to any user. You can assign it to the guest user, the B2B external user that you have basically given the global admin permission. You could actually assign it to the admin who created it. So it depends as to anything. It just needs to be assigned to one user or an external user. Once you have that, as we discussed, it basically is used for creating the storage. That is the primary reason of assigning the license, one of the primary reasons. In terms of the confusion, we will actually walk through now in the next 20 minutes of the flow of how to basically redeem and make sure that you can actually connect the networks and kick off the migration. So unless there are any more questions, I would like to go into demo at this point in time. And I see Bala has basically said that we have 34 networks, not ideal to create 34 intra tenants and procure E5 licenses. Totally understand it. Each of the networks today was basically hosted on the way it is, but in order for us to continue to maintain the commitment for SFI, each of the modern external networks will actually have to be on their own intra tenant. This is something that gives you more control to basically keep which network you want, retire, deprecate, rather than having one network and then having to deal with deprecation of sub networks. we basically will then go back into a problem that we had solved, which was basically the one-to-many consolidation that you all are familiar with, which we basically did as part of the M365 native. All right, I'm going to switch over to demo, and if there are any more hands, happy to keep looking at them. I already see Allison, Brian, and Corey and Michael on the call, so please watch for hands because I'm actually going to go into demo and I might not have full access to the screen. All right, so we'll basically go into an experience of, first of all, we'll basically start with going into this network, just about to come through. Not that one, sorry. Go to the other network. Oh, did I just leave the call? No, I did not. Okay. Give me 1 second. All right.
We saw it for a second.
Yeah, I know. It was the wrong
Okay.
screen. Yeah, I need to go through a sequence. Yes.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Okay. So as you can see, I think it is coming through right now. This is basically a new tenant that I have created. But before we do that, I'm actually going to show you the other network. So what I had shared was I already am set up with a new tenant, etc. But before I do that, I actually want to show, and that is what I wanted to start with, was showing you the experience of once you actually have the network already created. So I think all of you can see my screen, right? Just to make sure. Yes, somebody just give me a thumbs up. Yep. Okay. All right. I see 4, 10, many. Okay, awesome. So as you can see, and let me just put this to the side, this share bar, so that it doesn't get in the way of sharing. Okay. So first things first, this is my canonical network, or what I call as my Engage network. I actually am here as an admin. One of the things that I'm actually going to show you is through the globe, you can see my list of external networks. So there are 5 that I have, which are over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the network that I already have moved from the legacy to modern. So when I click into it, it is basically going to load directly post migration. You will see that it basically loads up in the new Engage experience. So any of the URLs or any of the links that you have to the network, to your legacy, once the migration is completed, they will automatically point to the new network that you have basically connected to. So you can see that this is a network that has already been connected. I'm actually going to go to this content. You can see that this was a content that I had made at Friday before kicking off the migration, and then it has been moved over. You also have the users over here, and it seems like in my network, I'm already seeing the display name for the user rather than the email address. So it seems like, Michael, some of our internal systems are available of it. I think the quality checks will happen before we push it to production. But you can see that I already have the ability now of basically using the new experience of inviting users into the community, right? And because I can also log in as Adele, but I will tell you that I have tested this, that Adele, because she has been invited into the network, she will have the ability to create communities as well, just like she was able to create groups in the legacy external networks. So that's that. So I'm actually going to now show you as to what happens to my network that has currently not been moved. So I'm actually going to click on this. I was very creative with the name for this morning session, so I actually called it a very legacy external network for the demo. So when I click on it, it is essentially taking me to what we call as a legacy experience. As I said, this is from the past decade. All of us would love to have a facelift on it, and I think that is what we are doing. So as you can see in this experience, I have these users already. I have Adele, I have other users as well. But now this has not yet been connected or have not kicked off the flow of moving this content to the modern external network. So the question is going to be, okay, before I do that, what am I supposed to do? So I'm actually going to basically switch over from this particular legacy network, and I'm actually going to show you the new tenant that I have already created. So step one, I have to have a new Entra tenant set up. It could be a workforce tenant. You could actually have an existing tenant that doesn't have Engage and you could use it. It is your choice. In my case, I already had an existing tenant, so I'm actually going to switch over into that. I'm actually going to go back and share again to the new tenant that I have created. So bear with me. We were on the home network. I switched over to the legacy network. I already have a new tenant created that will become the home of my modern external network. So I'm actually going there. I have not tied any of the two tenants right now. Just to be clear, that is just a brand new tenant. I'll walk you through as to what it is. There's no connection. There is no tie-in that has been done so far. So here, so when I come here, this is my new tenant. As you can see, I have a Engage network, but I'm actually going to go show you that in my Entra, what all things I have done. So I'm going to again slide this on the side. So just every time you see and every time you hear me use the word new, that means it's in my new tenant, which will house my modern external network. Anytime I see home, I mean the current network that I want to move, and which is also my Engage network and where the legacy network is tied from. So I'm in my new tenant. I'll go to admin center, and you can see that what I have done is, like, if I were to go to users, one of the things that I did was I brought the admin, the global admin from my home network as a B2B member in this tenant. So I'm actually going to click on this particular guest user. It's an external guest. You can see the identity is external Azure AD. And if I were to edit properties, you will see one of the things is like the user type from here. Once it loads up. Still loading, folks. Sometimes demos want to slow themselves down. I have no reason to believe that that is going to change anytime in the next 2 minutes. So just trying to set expectations. I'll try over again. Go from Engage to my Engage. I'll refresh. Hopefully that does the trick. Okay. Anyway, it brought me back to the user. I'm actually just going to go to home. I'll start over again. I'll go to users. You all are probably familiar with this experience. What I had done was when I invited the user, I actually went and invited as an external user. So this user that you're basically going to see, Raj Home Network, when I click on him, this particular user, this user has been, come on, you can go a little bit faster this morning. I wish I had elevator music to go with this, folks. I don't, but next time. Okay. All right. I'm actually just going to give up. I think what I wanted to show you was that user was already a member. I'll just come back to the main screen for this user. And I'll just click on basically show you the properties from here itself. Come on, this is just painful. Okay. Right. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to just go do realtimeportal.azure.com. Just loading it up. Hopefully, this works for me faster. Okay. 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 So when I go to users, it is painful. Okay. This particular user, I'm going to try it one more time. Hopefully this works. This time it basically lets me load up the properties. it is not helping, but okay. What I was actually trying to show you that this user has been projected as an external Azure identity. The user property type is member, not guest. That's the key thing. And one of the things that we're also asking is to make sure that please do assign the global admin role for this particular user, unless you actually want to do all the management using a new identity in this new tenant. So I'm basically going to stop over here and I'm actually going to go over here because this is where we actually want to do the experience. So when you come here as the admin and when you go to admin center, you will see I have external networks under setup and configuration. I'll click to go set up an external network. I'll click on generate the code. This is essentially going to generate the code, which is the GUID. I'm actually going to copy it. So I have copied this particular GUID, and now I'm actually going to connect it with the other network. But before I do that, I also need the tenant ID for this particular tenant. So I'm actually going to just keep this particular screen over here. Hopefully it loads up because I will need to copy it again. So I'm actually going to switch over again, folks. So I'm switching over back to my home network. So I'm actually going to go to my home network because that is where I want to connect this new tenant. So I'm actually going to go to my home network over here. And I'm going to go to Engage. I'm actually going to go close this. I'm going to Admin Center over here. I'll click on External Networks, and this is where I'm actually going to redeem. And remember, one of the things that we had said that if your network maps to multiple Engage networks or external networks, you'll start seeing the list of the networks that we actually have. So I'm actually going to set it up. I'm actually going to enter the code. This is the code. I'm actually going to just switch over. I'm not going to present. I'm just going to copying over the tenant ID of the new tenant. I'm just going to come back here and paste it, and I'm going to redeem. This has basically is the way for us to basically say, I have now declared the new tenant to be my the house for my external network, and that is where I'll actually connect to when the migration is over. So what we did so far, just to keep up, we went to the new network. We made sure that there was a user, an external Azure user added to that Entra tenant. That user was the admin of the home network. It was identified as a B2B member, and they were given the role of a global administrator. After that, going into the Engage network in that new tenant, we generated a code which is essentially used to tie this new network to your home network. So we basically connected that, and that is the operation that we just did. Now, when I basically go stop sharing from here, and I just want to show you one quick thing, is after the connection happens, you will start to notice something very much as to indicating that this new network is an Engage network. So I'm actually just going to go over here. If I were to go to Engage and if I were to refresh, you will notice one thing, that it is already set up to become a modern Engage network. And how you can tell that is you can see that we are basically only seeing communities over here. And in this experience of communities, you'll basically have only community show up. You will not have any of the other experiences once you have declared that new network to be the house for the modern external network. Other thing that we wanted to quickly show you, if I can get to the user, is I already had users added. Give me 1 second if it does. Okay. So basically what I'm actually going to do is, like, from here, I'm actually going to start inviting users. But before we do that, we need to connect this particular network to your legacy external network. So we'll perform the same operation. And now what we're going to do here is from here, sorry, you're not seeing my full screen. Maybe I should just share my whole desktop rather than flipping back and forth. Let me do that. So now, just to be clear, I am in my home network And from my home network, I'm actually going to switch over to my legacy network. And I'm actually now going to connect my legacy network with the modern external network. So here, as an admin, I'm actually going to go to the network admin flow. Can you all see my screen? I think it is too wide, but the main screen of in the center is showing up fine, right? It's not looking stretched or too small. Okay. I have a wide screen, guys. Sorry, not complaining, but sometimes it doesn't present well when I'm sharing the full screen. So hopefully the browser window that you're seeing is working fine for you. So when I click here on the external network, I'm actually going to basically paste the tenant ID. Remember, that was the tenant ID that I had also pasted. I'm actually going to quickly go over here and basically get the redemption code. Center. You can still get the redemption code. Just it's the same thing. If you didn't copy it over, just enter the code and just making sure that I did not paste it twice. And I'm actually going to redeem the code. And once the code is redeemed, it will log me out. And when I log back in, it is essentially basically now ready for me to kick off the migration. So I'm actually going to log back into this legacy external network of mine. And here, assuming that I have actually gone ahead and added the users and everything else, I can go ahead into admin. And from here, I can actually, you will see that because it is now connected, the external network menu item is now replaced with M365 native mode. So I can kick off the M365 native mode flow from here, and you all are familiar with this. This is also the point is for you to say you can generate bulk user invitation CSV. You can export it, use this export to basically import those users into your new tenant. And once you actually have it, you can run the generate alignment report, which you all are familiar with. But I'm just going to basically go continue down the path, assuming that I've already brought the users and everything else. It is essentially going to ask the same thing. I'm just going to copy it here. And it is essentially going to be, hopefully it is the same. You all can look at it. Yes. Or did it miss a character? Okay, I'm just going to type it in. Or maybe we have this thing like we don't want to do this. Okay. I'm just going to copy, hopefully copy paste works, folks. Michael, real time. Okay, it did work. So I can authorize this. This is essentially kicked off the native mode alignment, at which point in time, once the migration is complete, you will actually have the ability from your Engage network that when you switch over from here, it'll bring you to the modern experience. So now at this point in time, your job of kicking off the migration is ready. You just have to keep coming back to the screen of your legacy admin to basically see if there are any errors, and we will also continue to monitor it. But this is the point at which point in time you have committed to basically bring your content and your users from your legacy network to the modern experience network. And just to make sure what the end experience is going to be is like it is once the migration is over, this link, once you click on it, will basically take you to the modern experience, similar to what we just saw, that when I click on it, it basically takes me to the modern experience. So this will be the experience that you will go. I know that there's a few steps involved, but just wanted to quickly highlight to you, say, once you have the tenant and once you have the main B2B member created in your new tenant, you should be able to perform the actions very quickly. The majority of the time that we expect for you to spend is essentially making sure that you are bulk exporting the users correctly from your legacy external networks and inviting them into your new tenant. And again, for everybody's clarity, you don't need to assign licenses to these guest users because you get up to 50,000 monthly active logins for each canonical or a licensed active user. So remember, because you already assigned the license, that gives you up to 50,000 monthly active users. Now, one thing we want to actually make sure that this is something that Michael and I, and we will provide you an update, is when you try to bulk invite users into your new tenant, Entra has some safeguards in place because of the freshness of the tenant. It essentially assumes that it is something, it identified as an attack vector that you're trying to basically do maybe a denial of service, or you're pretty much trying to add too many users. So as a safeguard policy that basically will put your tenant under some observation, but you should pretty much work with your support team to let Entra know, to make sure that your Entra network that you just created, and you're going to be inviting these users ahead of time so that it is not getting flagged. Michael, maybe you can enlighten, add a little bit more of a details as to what that process looks like.
Sorry, Raj, you have to repeat the question. I was answering questions in the chat.
Okay, now I'm basically telling about the when you basically do the bulk invite, how Entra basically could potentially flag your tenant and not let you complete all those. There was a process that we had discussed that Entra supports.
Yeah, so what we'll need is to have you all reach out to your account teams, ask them to connect with Raj and I, and we can get them the right information they need to help get those unblocked. So just work with your account teams, point them to Raj and myself, and we'll help you guys get those unblocked. That is the process.
Yeah. So again, I think there's a few questions in the chat. We have a few minutes. I know Allison, there's a question to say, does the webinar chat remain open? If not, maybe we can always discuss it on the chat that we have on Engage. We are responding there as well, but I'll let you know. I'll let you answer that question, Allison.
Yeah, I don't know if I can change it mid webinar. I'm gonna try if I can, but the best place to have ongoing conversation, and we'd love for you to be there anyways, is the Viva Engage customer community. So if you're not already there and want to be a part of it, either drop it in the chat and I'll add you right now, or we have a form that, you know, if you've got folks who aren't here today, who should be a part of that community, we talk about a lot of things in that community beyond the external networks, but that would be the fastest way to get a hold of us. And then, of course, using your support escalations and support tickets as well. So, and then, yes, the recording will be available. We'll post it in the customer community, and then we can also post this on YouTube as well, and kind of get the recording out as we can. So, yeah, good question.
All right. Again, as we said, like, you know, please do continue to raise any things on the Engage Customer Connections community that Allison will, or we will make sure that you get added. That's the best forum for us to keep getting your questions. As always, if you open a support ticket to us and if it gets routed to us, we are always there to answer that as well. But just for us to scale better, I think going through Engage definitely would help because there might be similar questions. Once again, team and our customers, thank you all for really understanding and joining us on this journey as we modernize a very, very legacy component. We do this in all seriousness. We don't take this lightly. So please know that our team has its full commitment to make sure that we provide you with the support you need as you go through this transition. We can't keep the dates sliding. We have a commitment to Microsoft and to our customers to basically retire our legacy technologies by a certain date. We have already stretched that a bit too far by going all the way to August because this was something that we were supposed to be done by end of June. But we understand that, you know, some of our customers do need extra time because the content has been around for a while. So we understand, but we don't have any room after that August 15 deadline for us to keep it around. So please do understand that we are not trying to be difficult. It is just the reality that we have a commitment because of our Secure Future initiative to shut down some of our very, very legacy components and experiences. We have a couple of minutes. If there's somebody has a last minute question, we can take. If not, thank you for joining us this morning, this afternoon. We appreciate your support. Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Just one question. Is there any rule of thumb as far as timing goes? Like, for example, like, is there a per gig or per terabyte estimate for what the migration, the last piece is going to take?
I'll let Michael or Brian or Corey take that.
So Doug, it's hard to say, right? There's a couple of variables that are at play. How many? So just so we're all on the same page, right? This is the same process that has occurred for customers' home tenants, the canonical network, where these legacy networks were upgraded to be in native mode, which provides the full integration to all of the Microsoft 365 services. So with that in mind, to complete all of the steps, right, we have to take the communities. They have to be connected to a group that's an M365 group. Those have SharePoint sites. We have to copy all of the files over to the SharePoint site. We have to take all of the data, make sure it's ingested into the Purview system, so you have the full compliance story there. So when you think about that, there's a lot of different variables, and so it's really going to, one of the biggest things is how fast can we get data into the other systems as we perform the migration of the data sources. Most customers should be able to complete a network within 7 days. I haven't seen any right now that I sit back and kind of have pause with any. So when I say that, what I mean is we pulled some stats on customers on active networks and have a sense of where everybody's at. It would be surprising to me if 7 days was not enough time for people to get, to get through, assuming that there's no, no blockers along the lines of what Raj called out, where the bulk invites cannot be performed. In the background, continue to watch your upgrade. You'll start to see green checks. Hey, this many users have completed, this many communities. Continue to watch that during the migration. You'll start to see some errors in the begin to show up in the report there. As you continue to solve those, you can continue to restart the migration. We want to make this as seamless as possible. We're also going to be monitoring on the back end from our side to see what that experience is like for all of you. But it's a pretty tried and tested process we've been doing for several years now with home networks.
Right. But the users can still use the new network, right?
Correct.
It's just the old data is going to take a while to pop up.
That's correct.
Populate.
Yes. Correct. Right. The network, this is designed as a zero downtime upgrade for all of you.
Right. Yeah. With us, it's mainly the pictures. I mean, it's not that complex. Communities and probably 100 or less users, but just like 2 gigs of mainly pictures for 1 week, and I got to go back like 500 days. So it's just a ton of pictures. Really,
okay.
What's going to kill us?
If your data set is 2 gigabytes, you're in the that's easy. You're in the low number. You're in the low number of days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. You're probably like 2 gigabytes a day, 2 days.
That's 2 gig. That's for a week actually, and we got to go back 500.
Oh, days. You have 2 gigs per week.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying you have 2 gigs total.
No. That's 1 week times 52 plus 25, so times about 75. It's a lot.
Okay. I'll have to sit down and maybe do some math on that one to think about what would be a normal timeline for you. but you'll most likely be experiencing just rate limiting on ingress into SharePoint.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it might be 2.5 terabytes maybe.
Okay.
For one of the clients, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you again for joining, Allison, and our customer experience team. Brian, Corey, thank you for really driving this initiative for basically having this webinar. We are here to basically set up more time if needed, and happy to take any of your questions that you have. We are here to make sure that you have a transition. Our commitment is to try and make sure as smooth as it can be. And if there are rough patches, we'll try to smoothen it out for you. So again, thanks for your commitment to stay on with Engage. We appreciate your presence and your belief in us. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.